everyone, welcome to another Data Vault Q&A brought to you by Iris, the best data vault automation for a modern data platform. I'm Julien Redmond, and again, I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Nols Ebershon. Hi, Nols.
Hi, Julien. How are you?
I'm good. I have another question for you. Straight to the point, what is a BKCC? What's it for, and how do I do it?
BKCC, all these acronyms. So This is what's called a business key collision code. That's what BKCC stands for. So the concept that we are dealing with here is not a new one. It's been part of the Data Vault standards from Data Vault 1 days already. It used to be called a type code or a subsequence within a hub. And the intent of it was to resolve issues where there is a lack of uniqueness across the enterprise for a set of business keys. Let's assume that we have 4 systems. In system 1, we have an ID for our customer, and the ID is 123. Let's keep it simple. And it's for Bob.
Right.
In system 2, we also have a ID in another client table, but it's still for Bob. And if we look at it, we find out that these 2 systems are nicely integrated. They're talking to each other via the enterprise service bus, and so changes are cascaded from one to the other as necessary, and they're nicely synchronized. So they are nicely integrated, which is what we'd like to see. Then we have a third system where there's a customer identifier of ABC99D, and we find out it's still for Bob. But as far as the 2 other systems are concerned, they have no idea what ABC99D means. And we only know it's for Bob because we looked at it and you could, through some MDM type function, determine whether they're the same or not and the like. That's a side issue. As far as the Data Vault is concerned, we now have 2 different business keys identifying the same person. No problem. You'll have 2 records in your hub representing those 2 different keys. Now, at this stage, there's no issue. 123 is not the same as ABC99D, and therefore there's no collision. So you can see where this is going. Now, system 4 has an ID for a customer table, 123, but it's for Sally. Now, let's, for the sake of simplicity, just say that Bob and Sally are not the same. Is it a reasonable assumption? Let's assume that. Okay. And so now we have a problem, because if we have a single row business key in our hub that'll say 123, we now have, depending on when we load these systems, then that key is Bob, then it's Sally, then it's Bob, then it's Sally, then it's Bob. And so it causes tremendous confusion. And so this is what we call false integration. So they share the same value. So 123 is not unique across the enterprise. So to make them unique, you need what we call a salting factor, something that we add to the key to make its context unique within the enterprise. And this is where business key collision code comes into play. So for system 1 and 2, since we want those 2 values to integrate because they are properly integrated, they get the same value for business key collision code. So that they still properly integrate. For system 4, we'll specialize the business key collision code to capture that it's a separate context as the other systems. And so we will prevent false integration. So now we'll have 3 records in your hub. One for the integrated enterprise 123 value, one for the ABC99D, and one for the system 4 123 value, to make the combination of those 2 columns, the business key collision code and the business key unique. And so we can govern, we can manage, we can dictate as to whether they should or should not integrate based on their context. And so that's where the business key collision code was not introduced, but clarified, because that was the intent of that particular part of the standard, but it was never speaking directly to the actual intent of that particular column. So that type code slash subsequence in the hub was renamed to business key collision code to make the context of that particular column clear. That's where business key collision code comes from.
And so what sort of values might you use for a business key collision code? Are you using a system identifier or?
Well, you can have the same business key appear across different systems. In our example, system 1 and 2 will have to share the same value, so it can't be system specific.
Right.
So you can say something like ENT for enterprise.
Right.
And even the third system, because there is nothing colliding with that value, you'll still give it an enterprise designation because it's unique within the enterprise. So business key collision code is not trying to capture the system context.
Yeah.
That's the record source's problem to solve, not the business key collision code. It's trying to capture the uniqueness context of those keys within the enterprise.
Right.
And as we've said before, data is mail, right? It can only do one job at a time.
I was nervous about where you were going with that.
And so a business key collision code can't capture the enterprise context and be a record source, tell you what the audit trail context of that record is. And so each column gets one job, and then everything works just fine. Yeah. And so that's why we never use a record source, for instance, as a business key collision code, because in the same system, I can have several contexts being available across different systems. And so we have to be very careful there.
So then would you essentially agree on a set of collision codes that you're going to use?
Absolutely. The part of your governance, once again, conversation is you're going to agree with your enterprise architects and others as to what the appropriate values for your business key collision codes would be. And you'd maintain that as a proper reference data set for the enterprise to go, well, these particular contexts will be designated as such.
Makes good sense. Perfect. Oh, I think that was a great explanation. Thank you for joining again today. I appreciate, again, you giving us the knowledge that you have locked away in that cranium of yours. And look, if that struck a chord and you want to learn a bit more, then reach out and have a chat. If you have a question for Nols, we would also love to pose that to him and see if we can stump him one of these days. But for now, thanks for joining, Nols. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.